First, let me thank each and every one of you for being a blessing to my world. I appreciate you. All of you. Thank you. The topic for today is unusual, aren't they all? Translating heartbreak into action. The outline was submitted by Reverend Sony Cantrell Smith, Community Spiritual Leader in Ahava, CSL. I looked it up. Ahava is in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, I'm sure we have a number of heartbreakers in the room, but I'm also sure that a number of us have experienced heartbreak. Heartbreak comes in many forms. Typically, we use it to describe heartbreak of a failed relationship. When somebody dumps us, oh, the drama. But sometimes it's also heartbreaking to know that for your own good, you have to choose to break up with someone else. That's heartbreaking too. You love them, you just know they're not right. That's heartbreaking. And we also have heartbreak when a dear friend or family member transitions, including and especially our pets. Heartbreaking. Heartbreak comes in many forms. Betrayal, physical or emotional abuse, loss of a job, having your house broken into, like we did in Vegas, that's heartbreaking. You feel like you got punched in the gut. Suddenly the whole world seems out of sync, upside down. And for those of us who have a spiritual bent, we always ask ourselves the same thing. Why? Why am I experiencing this? Why did this happen to me? Well, here's one possibility. A heartbreak is a blessing from God. It's just His way of letting you know He saved you from the wrong one. That's an unknown source. We can probably all rattle off an assortment of platitudes about it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If you love something, set it free. If it doesn't come back to you, it wasn't yours anyway. I want to offer you something slightly more profound. You ready? Mm-hmm. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Now I thought about that and I thought, it might also be the place where light exits from you, where you become the light. Pain, heartbreak, suffering, bondage, they're all common experiences in our world. It's a human experience, so real on our human level, in our 3 dimensions. But there's also a higher reality for which pain, heartbreak, suffering, bondage are not real. And Dr. Holmes addressed this. He said, to that reality, bondage is not even an illusion or hallucination. There's a part of us that's never fooled. That's why in the midst of the greatest trials, death, human suffering, something rises from within and says, as with Job in the Bible, Job, I guess, though I die, yet shall I live. Job went through some trials and tribulations, if you know the story. It's horrendous. And you would ask, why? Well, using the examples of betrayal, betrayal happens in a context of trust. Where there's been a betrayal, there had to have been trust. Otherwise, there wouldn't be anything to betray. The two concepts give each other meaning. In a relationship between two people has been an intimate relationship, then the betrayal becomes especially painful. When we're betrayed by someone to whom we have disclosed and entrusted our greatest fears and vulnerabilities, it seems that person doesn't care about either the relationship or certainly isn't committed to it. Otherwise, how could they have betrayed us? Well, in some of our religious teaching, we've been exposed to stories of betrayal in the Bible. How about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery? It was the greatest thing that ever happened to him. Moses was betrayed by his adoptive brother, the Pharaoh. Jesus was betrayed by Judas. Now we can see a pattern here that these are the greatest things that these people experienced. Began with betrayal. The story isn't about the betrayal. The story is about the path to overcome it. The betrayal pushes them onto this path. Sometimes the bad things that happen in our lives put us directly on the path to the very best things that will ever happen to us. Why some people can't get over their past hurts, their abuses. They continue to tell that story over and over and over again. While others seem not only to put their painful experiences behind them, but also to develop this inner strength and wisdom because of those experiences. There's an old story in Mexico. A burro fell into an old abandoned dry well. And the farmer looked for his burro and he finally found it 20 feet down in the dry well. They had no way to rescue the burro. And it was in the middle of a village. They couldn't just let it die and rot and stink up the village. So what did they do? They decided to bury it. So he got his friends and they all started throwing dirt down into the well, and they kept throwing more dirt down into the well, and they kept throwing more dirt down into the well, and more dirt and more dirt and more dirt. Finally the burro stood on top of the dirt and walked out of the well. So what's the moral of that story? Shake it off and step up. Shake it off and step up. What doesn't kill you makes it, no. So that kind of brings up a question about the healing process. I think how we respond to our betrayal determines our life patterns more than the betrayal themselves. The betrayal really doesn't reflect at all on you. It reflects on the other person. The only thing you have control over is how you respond. You can't change your past, but you can use it as a learning, strengthening opportunity. This morning, well, about half an hour ago, I looked at Facebook and saw a Facebook post that said, I just realized I can't reach out and touch my past. So why do I allow my past to touch me? Good timing. Thank you, Spirit. So I wanted to share that with you. Failure gives us an opportunity to experiment with life, to play with it a little bit, to move in a different direction than we expected. And what great philosopher can we turn to for this? How about Cinderella? If the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it, because it'll irritate the hell out of you. For your whole life, if it doesn't fit, give it to Goodwill. If the shoe doesn't fit, I can attest to the value in that. We frequently allow ourselves to live in unnecessary pain from a shoe that doesn't fit or whatever. But it comes from forcing ourselves into something that not only embarrasses us, but it cramps our hearts, damps our spirits. I can attest to that. Life is about participating in the art of finding and healing ourselves. Here's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As my sufferings mounted, I soon realized that there were two ways in which I could respond to my situation. Either to react with bitterness or seek to transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow the latter. Yes, he did. In Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes tells us, the world is beginning to realize that it has learned all it should through suffering and pain. Surely there can be no intelligence in the universe that wishes us to be sick, suffer pain, be unhappy, and end in oblivion. Surely if God, our universal intelligence, is imbued with goodness, then it could not ordain that man should ultimately be other than a perfect expression of life. Are you perfectly expressing your own life? I know you're all on the road, the path to that perfect self-expression. But hopefully everybody here has recognized that Spirit has no intent for us to suffer. No intent for us to experience pain, sickness, unhappiness. We have to create those for ourselves, which we've mastered. Creative Spirit has no awareness that we are experiencing those things. Spirit only knows itself as whole, perfect, complete, infinite. I mean, we could go on and on and on with that. Spirit sees us the same way. Which one of you wants to argue with Spirit? Oh, no, Spirit, that's not me. Oh, yes, it is. But does that make you feel any better, knowing that? Because until you can live that knowingness, it won't help. In this teaching, we try to keep these things in perspective. I don't see anybody new to this teaching, so I won't read that. But our teaching isn't unique. The point of Buddhism is that we're trying to end suffering for ourselves and all living sentient beings, which living sentient beings excludes nothing, by the way. So can we end other people's sufferings by not breaking up with them when we know we should? Is that how that works? No, absolutely not. To thine own self be true, and thou canst wrong no man. That's not exactly right, but it's something like that. In Can We Talk to God, Dr. Holmes asked this: why is it necessary that the soul shall undergo the experiences of evolution? Individuality means spontaneity, self-choice, volition, reality, creative ability. If we were to assume individually volition without law to bring the choice into fruition, we would have a dream, a hallucination, a fantasy. Individuality presupposes choice, which presupposes the possibility of bringing choice into our experience. Only through experience can it come full-orbed into conscious unity with the divine mind. End quote. Aha, there it is. Only through experience can it come full-orbed into conscious unity with the divine mind. We clearly and dearly want to come into conscious unity with Spirit. Sometimes it takes an impetus to make us change. A little kick in the butt by Spirit. A spiritual 2x4 to the head. We've all used those terms. I'm going to quote someone I am sure I haven't quoted in 40, 50 years. There is no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve our performance the next time. Anyone want to guess who said that one? Malcolm X. I didn't recall he was such a great philosopher. And I was reading Malcolm X in high school. My librarian thought I was crazy. For those of us who do believe in reincarnation, and that's not a requirement here, we accept that we choose a pattern for our lives before we ever enter them. We've all crossed paths with someone whose life seems so charmed, so easy, that we wonder if they've ever had a bad day. Maybe they don't. We also know someone like Linus in the Peanuts comic strip. A dark cloud follows them everywhere they go. They always seem to be getting rained on. Please understand this. They are both co-creators with the universe. One may have chosen a very different path because they wanted an easy life, because they've had a whole series of horrible, trying, challenging lives in which they learned many lessons. So maybe they decided to take a lifetime off a little bit. They wanted to cruise through a life. That's their choice. Or they're very near ascension. They've figured it out. This may be their final life. And I think some of you may or may not be in that condition. You don't have too many more lessons to learn. You don't have much karma to clear. so you get an easier ride this time around. But some of you may still wonder about that character with the cloud. He or she may have chosen a lifetime of challenges for several reasons. They appreciate the learning process. They understand why they're here, and they want to test it all out. They want the challenge. They want to flex their spiritual muscles. They want a quicker path to ascension. Why? Why do some people love horror films? I won't go near a horror film. Some people love them. Some souls are more adventurous than others. Some like action, some don't. Dr. Holmes says the world likes action, change. Action is life. Alertness is the word. Always be alert. There must be mental alertness before there can be physical activity. Act as though things were happening, even though they may not appear to be. Keep things moving, and soon you will have to avoid the rich. I don't remember typing that, but oh well. Soon you will have to avoid the rich. I think I must have cut something off. The riches, the richness,
The risk.
The risk?
Hmm?
Maybe the risk?
The what?
Risk.
I don't know. But keep things moving. What's he talking about? He's talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness means different things to each of us, but it's an awareness, an alertness. I don't know if mindfulness was a normal term back when he was writing this, but he said alertness, awareness. Now we call it mindfulness. I sometimes do not practice mindfulness. I get up in the morning, I get dressed, and I go down to the barn to feed the animals. And my whole day can be changed either way by my mindful awareness of where I am, what I'm doing, the blessings I have, or not. And if I go or not, my whole day it's not special. It's not the beauty, the awareness that's available just by being mindful and appreciating it. So now's the time to take action with all these experiences. The choices we make in difficult times can lead us towards integration, healing, creative change, or they can keep us stuck trying to heal our experiences by repeating them over and over. I see the choices involved as a crucial part of our life's call to know ourselves at a deeper level. A soul's journey faced by each of us in our own way. The question to ask is, does this choice or this action support my higher good? Now, some of you here are more motivated by knowing that how and what you do benefits others than you are for benefiting yourself. That's okay. That's a life lesson. But it's important that you recognize that. Recognize yourself. What motivates you? Remember this. You are a distinct part of the whole. You are a whole within the whole. You are a whole being of consciousness in a universal consciousness. There's no separation in consciousness, in spirit. Every thought you think, every action you take affects the whole. According to Marianne Williamson, each of us has a unique part to play in the healing of the world. That's why you came here. You have a role to play, healing yourself and the world. How do you heal the world? First, start with yourself. I know from our new Reiki master, when you're giving a Reiki treatment, you're also treating yourself. When you give a spiritual mind treatment, you're also treating yourself. When you are thinking love, you are thinking love for yourself. Finally, a couple more quick quotes. What happens when people open their hearts? They get better. That's from Haruki Murakami. When you can tell your story and it doesn't make you cry, you know you've been healed. Namaste. Now I'm going to go give a special video